Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living This Sweet Life, where we will talk about living life with intention, how to reshape your mindset, and how to look at the world through a grateful lens. So today I'm going to talk all about using your gifts and doing what makes you happy. When we are in that state of mind, in that space, in our head and our heart, it inspires other people to do the same thing. We often find that when we see somebody who just seems free, they are just being them. They're being who they are without judgment, without worrying about how good it is or how great it is. They're just being free. Now, I don't know how often that is for you, but stopping first and thinking about what is it that makes you happy? Because I ask a lot of people all the time, what are the gifts that you have? And people struggle with that. And the thing that I'm the most inspired and encouraged by is I ask people, what brings you joy and what makes you happy? And these days, with everything going on, people struggle with that answer. Because again, we go back to doing so much for other people that we sometimes forget to do things for ourselves. I know in previous episodes, I've talked about doing things on purpose for purpose. Well, sometimes the answer is just be you. Be happy doing what makes you happy. And so for me, I use the personal examples of I love to play golf. I absolutely love to spend time with the people that I'm the most grateful for. I feel alive. I feel focused. I feel free. I feel safe. I feel all of the things that are always around me and always there. If I just slow down enough to recognize that I actually am happy in the moment. So the first step of self-awareness is then followed by letting yourself be happy and do something that makes you feel happy. We're in this culture now to where our happiness is something that we just squeeze into extra time. And I think we can all agree and admit that we probably don't spend enough time doing the things that make us feel the happiest. But that doesn't mean that has to be how things always are. So really kind of taking time for yourself to share with other people, share with the people that you're the most grateful for and people that encourage you and support you, share what makes you happy. And I encourage all of you to be open when other people tell you something that they do that makes them feel happy, and don't respond with a judgment of whether or not it should make them happy. Oftentimes we express maybe what makes us happy and maybe the gifts that we have. And sometimes that can feel a little uncomfortable because we don't want to feel like we're boasting, or we don't necessarily want to cause attention, or, have other people see us as somebody who's gifted or somebody who's selfish because they're prioritizing their happiness. That's not real. That's kind of what some of our cultures made us believe right now, but we can always change the script. We can go back, each of us, one at a time, one day at a time, one person at a time. We can go back to making it normal to feel joy and feel happiness. Now, obviously, we were going to go through moments that are going to be stressful and going to feel anxious. We're going to feel sad and worried and depressed. It's part of life, but it's in those moments that makes us really look at what makes us feel the happiest and who we are with when we feel at our happiest. So my encouragement really to you is to think about what you're thinking about when your effort's high. Because oftentimes those are the moments when you're doing something that brings you joy and something that is using one of your gifts. And this idea of having gifts is not in the sense that you're better than anyone else at anything. It's just that you're naturally great at something. And then so having that talent already, combining it with prioritizing it and doing something that you love to do, kind of turns it into a skill. So talent and skill, right? There's work in between those two things. But if you love doing it, You hear people say all the time, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Well, I love what I get to do. I love who I get to do it with. I love the people that I get to spend my time with. But man, none of it feels like work. None of it feels like an obligation. It feels like I get to. It feels like I've been given a lifetime of opportunities to do things that I love to do for other people and just enjoy this life. Like loving to live life starts with self-awareness and making time, creating time for yourself and not feeling bad about it, because we can make time for ourselves. It could be listening to your favorite song. It could be doing playing a certain musical instrument. It could be playing a sport. It could be exercising. It could be reading. It could be doing artwork. It could be doing cooking, or really anything that you love to do. Do it unapologetically. Find time, and then find people in your life that nudge you to do that more often, because ultimately other people will be happier when they get to see you be happier. Now, there may be people who don't give you that vibe all the time, but ultimately the right people in your life will want you to be happy. And we have to appreciate those people, because that actually brings out the best in us. Because for me, whenever I get to see somebody who's doing what they love to do, and they actually say the words, "I'm happy getting to do it," it inspires me to feel the same way. And I still get to live this life that I'm like generally pretty happy in most of the time. But I still stop and reflect and think back and think, wow, how great is that somebody is willing to invest in themselves and value themselves enough to slow down and do something that makes them happy. The great thing about smiling and being grateful and living with intention is the science behind that is when other people see it, it makes us want to do the same thing. So there's actually science that shows that the mirror neurons in our brains, that, for example, when we see somebody else yawn, the reason why we yawn is the mirror neurons doing their thing. So if you find yourself walking down the street and you have a smile on your face, I promise you more people will smile back. Their headspace will go somewhere new, because smiling just does something magical to us. But we get to choose that every day. So why not find something that you do that makes you feel happy and encourages other people to feel the same way? So if we want to be the change we want to see in the world, that's another great quote. Oftentimes it starts with just us being that for ourselves and encouraging other people to do what makes them happy, and then be curious about it. And so whenever I get the chance to talk to people about what makes them happy, I keep asking questions. How do you feel? How's your energy? Who are you with? What makes you want to do something more? Whenever we feel happy, it's because we often feel creative. We feel free. We feel, this idea of safe, so that we can just kind of be and do. Because in these days to where everything is just about going and going and going, slowing down and making time for yourself to do what makes you feel happy actually makes you better for the rest of the moments. I think oftentimes we struggle with this idea of, I wish I had more energy, or I wish I smiled more, I wish I laughed more, because, oftentimes moments go by fast. We know that months go by fast, years go by fast, but we can slow that down. We can slow time down by being more grateful in moments and being more appreciative about who we are and the gifts that we have. Because our energy and our spirit, when we're happy and when we're doing what brings us the most joy, makes the world a better place, because it is something that makes other people want to be and do the same things. So if you're struggling with finding some energy, if you feel like you're always tired, sometimes it's not a matter of needing more rest. It can be, but sometimes it's actually more a matter of not doing enough that makes you feel happy, makes you feel joy, makes you feel grateful, makes you feel hopeful. It just makes you feel like you're doing something that's making a positive difference in other people's lives. And so stopping and thinking about, what are you doing in your life, in your day-to-day life, that makes you feel like the most you. And you don't have to necessarily worry about fitting in those moments. And you just go. Let go of that space of trying to be something and needing to be something for someone else all the time. We sometimes just have to show up for ourselves. And that habit of first recognizing your gifts allows you to see the gifts in other people freely. Second, the idea of recognizing what you get to do and what you love to do in your life. Again, the right people in your life will encourage you to do it more, not so that you can fill up, so that you can empty out, but just because you deserve the opportunities to do what you love to do. Now, sometimes we're the worst part of that process because we stand in our own way. So if you have somebody nudging you in your life that says, do something that makes you happy. When's the last time you did something just for you? It could be a friend. It doesn't matter who it is in your life, but just recognize that those people see more gifts in you. And sometimes it helps us to have other people believe in us so that we can believe even more in ourselves. But again, like I said, using your gifts and you being happy inspires other people to be more happy themselves. Because this idea of feeling something different, it's something that we've been struggling with over the past few years with all the things we've been going on with uncertainty and just, not really having a great sense of what tomorrow is going to bring. But never losing sight of what brings you joy and why does it bring you joy? It could be something as you get to create something or you get to spend that time with someone, but just be present while you're doing that. Put down the to-do list. Or if you're somebody who has to have a to-do list, put something on your list that makes you stop and slow down. Then you can still kind of do your whole checking off the list thing if that's what you really love to do. But because, ultimately, again, this is not a one size fits all, but it is something that all of us can do with intention. And sometimes it's just a matter of slowing down enough, taking time for yourself, and pausing so that you can appreciate who you are and what you offer to this world. So this idea of gifts and, thinking about how do you recognize the gifts? How do you recognize what you offer back to the world? So again, I go back to thinking about what are you doing and who are you with when your energy and your effort is high? Thinking about how other people are positively impacted by you being in their life. So ask other people if you need to, but also stop and think about what are the moments that you look forward to? What are moments that you feel peace? What are moments that you feel calm, that you feel like your most authentic self? And it could be something you don't tell anybody else about, or it could be something you share in a podcast or in a book or in the world. But whatever it is, again, you don't need to apologize for doing something that brings you happiness and joy because other people see that. This whole idea of leading by example in our own lives. And so there are people in your life that are being positively impacted by you pursuing what makes you happy and you pursuing using your gifts in a way to make a positive difference in the world. And sometimes that positive difference in the world is first making a difference in your own life. So slow down, stop and think about what you're the most grateful for and how you're feeling in those moments and who you're with and what you're doing. And understand that it's not selfish to take care of yourself because ultimately there are so many things in this world that are going to bring us a whole world of other emotions. And it's important that we feel all these emotions. So this isn't just about always being happy, but it's sometimes it can be about making sure that you understand and prioritizing your own happiness. I have people in my life that their happiness is I get happy when they're happy. And that's pretty amazing, right? So when somebody's willing to just let go and find joy in what they do, that inspires me. That makes me happy. It makes me want to be better and makes me want to be more curious about what about that thing brings them so much energy and joy. So I firsthand get to see this all the time, but I always look for it. I look for what lights that energy into people's eyes and their hearts and their souls. And then I become curious about it, because I then want to understand even more about what brings me joy and what brings me my happiness. And then it helps us find our gifts in that way, because gifts that we're given are all about how we contribute back to other people's lives. And again, we all have this desire to do something bigger than ourselves and to bring joy to other people. And so when you recognize when other people are benefiting from you, doing something, saying something, whatever it may be, making them something, just think about that may be one of your gifts showing up in their life. And that, we can all express gratitude in different ways, but understanding when somebody says, I appreciate you or thank you, that could be a pretty good signal that you just used one of your gifts to make a difference in their life. So kind of recapping, starting with self-awareness, thinking about what you're thinking about when your effort's high. Prioritize your happiness. It could be just a few minutes, even if you can't do an hour's worth, just a few minutes of your life of happiness will feel incredible. And it will actually create this amazing ripple effect, because then it will release chemicals in our body that makes us want to do it more and more and more. And never, never put that off, because you're worth it. And then thirdly, thinking about surrounding yourself with people who encourage you to use your gifts, who challenge you to use your gifts, but also respect that sometimes what brings you joy and what brings you happiness doesn't necessarily have to be this grand thing that makes everybody else's life better in a big way. And it doesn't have to be what other people do, what anybody else does either. So your joy and your happiness is up to you. It doesn't have to bring everybody happiness. So prioritize yourself, prioritize your heart, prioritize your mind. Start with grateful thoughts whenever you're in a space. Just be grateful that you're there. Just be still and be there more often, because your happiness and your gifts make this world a better place. Thank you so much for tuning in for this most recent episode of Living the Sweet Life. And just a reminder, I would love for you to subscribe and follow my page here and follow all my social media. You can find more at tjsweet.net. And I look forward to connecting with more of you on an every Monday basis, as these new podcasts are coming out every Monday. So be looking for these, and I will be publishing all over social media when these go live, and would love any comments or feedback or any topic that you want me to discuss. Send me a message and I'll get working on that so that I can spread messages that are even more meaningful for you. So thank you, and I appreciate you.